Subtracting fractions is much like adding them. So I recommend that you watch first the video on adding fractions and then come to this, but either way it'll probably make sense. So subtracting fractions with like denominators. Remember, de in Latin means down, it's the prefix for down, and nam means name. So it just is like the down name. So this is the number here, that's how you can remember that. So 14 over 15 minus 2 over 15. This is very easy. What we're going to do is we're going to keep the denominator. We're not going to mess with it. And then what we're going to do is a subtraction just here from the top. So it's just as easy as that. And then we have to, of course, reduce this. So we can take a, looks like a 3 out of both of these and get 4 over 5. And that's our final answer. We can't reduce it farther or further. And so here our denominator is 9. So we're just going to keep that. And then just do our simple subtraction up top. And then we're just going to reduce. We can take a 3 out of this and get a 1 over 3. And then say we have these two mixed numbers being subtracted from each other. The first thing we do is, maybe I'll come over here, is subtract 199 to get 1, and then subtract these two fractions. So we again keep the denominator, and then subtract these two up top. That's a 3 and that's a 2. It's not clear. And then it's 1 over 1/5. So that's easy enough. If you keep that in a mixed number, maybe your teacher wants you to put it in an improper fraction, and so you do that by doing 5 times 1 plus 1, and then over 5. But I have a video on that, so you can check out converting mixed numbers to impropers and impropers to mixed numbers. Now, what do we do if we get two fractions with different denominators? Well, so it's the same process as it's the same thing we do when we add, except we are subtracting. So that doesn't explain that well. So the first thing we're going to do is multiply the two denominators, and we're going to get 32. That's our new denominator. Then we're going to do that thing where we cross multiply. It's very important to start with this one, though, in the case of subtraction, because it is not commutative as addition is. So now we're going to take the product of 3 and 8 when they're multiplied, and we're going to subtract that by the product of 1 and 4. So we're going to get 20 over 32. And now we can reduce that. And we reduce it by, looks like we can take a 4 out of both. And so we get 5 over, what is that, 8? And that's our fraction. So this is super easy once we get the hang of it. So 3, you just have to remember the rule, I guess. So we start with the denominator, multiply 3 and 7 to get 21. Now we're going to do our cross multiplying, again, starting here. So 2 times 7, which is 14, minus 1 times 3, which is 3. We're going to get 11 over 21. And so that we cannot reduce further. And so the last case we're going to look at is if we get 3 fractions. That means we have to find first the lowest common denominator, which again is it's the number which, it's a number that can be divided by any of these numbers, and ideally it's the lowest. If not, we can just keep reducing. It's not a big deal. But here it's pretty apparent that 8 is going to be our lowest common denominator, because 8 goes in 8, 4 goes in 8, and 2 goes in 8. So we're going to keep that and give ourselves a big numerator at the top. So how do we get 8 in the bottom here? Well, we don't do anything. So I'm just going to put a 1 for clarity's sake, if maybe that's not even more clear. At the bottom, to get 8 as a denominator, we're going to have to multiply it by 2. And if we multiply something at the bottom, we're going to have to multiply it by the top. And here, to get 8, we're going to have to multiply it by 4 and do it at the top as well. And now we just need to add 7 times 1, which is 7. Ooh, subtract, I mean. I always think of it in addition because I hate subtraction. 7 minus 6 minus 4. So that's going to be 7 minus 6, which is 1, minus 4, which is negative 3 over 8. And that cannot be reduced further. And that's going to be how it is right now. Looking at this last one here, we're going to do the same thing. Looks like 20 is our lowest common denominator. And that way we're going to do 4 here to make sure this is 20. Here we're going to do 5 to make sure this is 20. You got to do the bottom and the top. Here's just a 1, just for clarity. Now we're going to subtract 12 minus 10 minus 11. So that's going to be 10. That's going to be 2 minus 11 is 9. Negative 9 over 20. And that can't be reduced any further. So this is how you subtract 3 fractions, and sometimes it gets messy, but just stick with it. And I would recommend looking online and doing as many worksheets as you can. This is just a video explaining the method in a nice, artificially clear way.